everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday show. I am the host for the evening, the One-Ton Hammer. With me are my co-host, as always, Terry DeMontis. Hello.
Hello.
And Genty Maxi, say hi.
Hello.
How you doing tonight, Terry?
I'm all right. I'm a bit tired. I got woken up in the middle of the night and I just couldn't quite get back to sleep again. So other than that, I'm fine.
I hate when that happens. How you doing, Jen?
As good as can be.
I have a feeling you have a lot to say tonight, and that's good because that's one of the topics in the news. We'll be talking about Mr. Trudeau and his emergency act on the 2 steps back topic, and then also we have cold as ice. Beverly Yee, the American who defected, I guess, to China to ruin their ice skating team. Well done there. And then finally, United States Postal Service, USPS, has gas because they are not going to go with electric vehicles. So that's in the news as well. So we should probably say hello to everybody in chat. I see Cynic out there and Mr. Adam. And we'll probably gain more people as we go along because people have a hard time showing up at 9 o'clock Eastern for some. Oh, there's Keeverdam and Costin.
Keeverdam and Costin.
Hello.
I think it might also be YouTube playing games because we had a little bit of,
Yeah, we actually, and not everybody knows this in chat, but we'll go ahead and tell everybody. We actually started the show, and the show didn't start. So we actually had to do the show again from the introductions. So, that's what I knew there was going to be some kind of issues tonight with the different version of OBS because, OBS that I used to use was version 27.1.3. And that was the version for a long time. And it was very stable. I was very happy with it. And then last week we got up to 27.2 because OBS came out with a new version. And we had all kinds of problems with the stream last week. And I checked my internet connection, it was okay, and I checked my PC, and it was okay. So it really wasn't my side of hardware. The only thing that was different was the version of OBS. And now they've come out with 27.2.1 because people were complaining about 27.2. So hopefully, I'm looking at the stream health, and it says it's beautiful. So hopefully that fixed whatever problems were happening. So we had our little glitch, though. Every once in a while, OBS does this, where you'll tell it, start streaming, and it will tell you, I'm streaming. And then you go look at YouTube, and YouTube says, I'm not getting anything. And you have to kind of give OBS a bump in the shoulder. It's really not hard to do. You just have to give it a little poke, and it's like, oh, sorry. And then everything works. So, anyway. The great thing is it happens at the beginning, and everybody watching the show would never know it happened. It's just the three of us who get to laugh at OBS being stupid. So, but we should probably get to talking about Trudeau because there's a lot of things going on, and some of the stuff I just don't understand. So I'm going to need help. So Jen, my first question to you is, Trudeau implements the Emergency Act. Your quote unquote House approves it on a vote, and
they had to take another vote on it. They had to wait for the Senate vote, and he revoked it before they completed their voat. They were supposed to finish.
That was the question I was going to ask. I was going to ask. So the House passed it, but it didn't get to the Senate yet. And from what I understand, how the Senate looks, it's kind of like our Senate. In the response, in the idea that the Senate's a little bit more thoughtful about doing things than the House. The House kind of throws everything at the wall, and the Senate kind of says, well, nah, we don't really want to do that. Is that how it is for you guys? Because I read up on your Senate a little bit, and that's what they said, that Senate, because House of Commons, House of Lords kind of deal, that whole idea is that the Senate's more picayune, I guess.
So he does get to have his own pick of a certain amount of the Senate. So it's not like he didn't have some sway. But the thing is he would have lost the vote. There was just not enough that he would have gotten it. So I think he revoked it just for those reasons.
Save
But
face.
honestly, well, to save face, and the fact of the matter is he's already been acting as though he had those powers. Like, he started invoking those powers back when the protest was still going. And that's kind of why he's in trouble right now, because he might have brought in people from another country to work with our cops. There's way too much evidence going around, floating around out of a plane in an area that we actually have people who live close enough to go drive out and take pictures and videos. So many people drove out. There was so many people driving out taking pictures of this shit. We are now looking at our cops like they are no longer on our side. And the fact that he's done that hasn't really changed that.
It shouldn't be a surprise. No cops anywhere on any continent are on your side. None of them are.
Yeah. Well, if they have German accents, then they're probably from the WEF.
But you know what I mean? Like, they brought in people to deal with us. And I'm not saying that the cops that were there weren't involved too, because they absolutely are. Like, they went ham with people. Like, they absolutely hurt a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. And I'm still concerned about one of the guys, because I still can't find anything on him. There was 2 people stomped on that day.
Yeah.
And even
one of them was indigenous, right?
Yes. The Mohawk lady even said
Mohawk lady.
She's a First Nation 100% Mohawk elder.
Yeah, we use that word differently here. Here, Mohawk is a hairstyle.
I know, but for us, it's a tribe. And she said that she can't find any word on that guy, and that to me speaks of them hiding the fact that they might have killed somebody.
Oh, you think he died?
I sincerely don't know. If I can't find a picture of him, and they're not willing to post one of him, like they were willing to post pictures of her, like, see, she's fine.
Maybe he doesn't want to be identified. Maybe he doesn't want to be doxxed. Maybe it's his side.
Maybe? I don't know. I would think that he would have at least reached out to her, because they were on the same side. Like, he was a protester too.
Yeah.
Because they were talking to each other. Like, they were exchanging stories. So that's why I'm really concerned on that one. But the other thing too is there was no one in that crowd that they didn't go after. You know, like, they really did go after the truckers. Like, they were going after them with the guns, like yanking them out, going in through the top. You can see the destruction of some of the campers left behind. You know, they had some guys going in and out, and you could just see that it was typical police shit where they just absolutely destroy something with no reason. And then afterwards, it was actually kind of amazing, because they're trying to imply that the trucker convoy just trashed the place. And that's absolutely not the truth, because they had people up and down the streets with cameras showing that most of the people that were there were kind of bored. So they spent most of the time cleaning and feeding the homeless.
Yeah.
Like, they were consistent, like, finding things to do. Like, they were constantly getting rid of the snow, so nobody had to worry about tripping. You know, they cleaned the graffiti off of the statues, off of the walls. And so the cops block it off for like a week and a half and act like they're cleaning everything. And it's like, no, all you've really done is clean up the snow, which, fair enough. I mean, it was snowing the whole week, so they would have had to. Well, they wouldn't have had to. The street people would have had to. But, like, they act like we don't have people with cameras everywhere, because they have drones everywhere, you know? So it's just like, well, people can record it, you know, and just release it later.
Before I forget, thank you for linking the show, Assassination of the Gray.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're still doing damage, right? How many trucks did they tow away? Those guys are paying impound fees for that? And the damage from the towing? People still don't have bank accounts back?
It's not just that. Like, they are going to re-release the accounts. That's going to take some time, they said, which to me, that bothers me. Because I don't think it's going to be overnight. Like, I think for them, it could be like a week. It could be a couple weeks.
Seizing it didn't take long.
It really didn't. And holding on to it didn't. And the fact of the matter is it already caused enough damage. Like, the amount of people who lost their jobs because of it, like a lot of salary people lost their jobs because when you tell somebody that they're not going to get paid indefinitely, they can't take that chance. You know, I really wish they could have given them a date because most of those people could have just been put on sick leave or something until things had been worked out. And now they're going to have to go and rehire. Hopefully they will rehire people. You know, I'd be questioning the companies that did that because that's something that gives me that makes me nervous about my company. You know, that they can just drop you like that. But the fact of the matter also is the fact that Christy Freeland made it clear that she was going to make it possible for them to hold on to power. And they did stuff without permission from the House at all. Before they had permission to do anything, they did it. So I believe with 100% that she has done that. I don't doubt that everybody that had their accounts locked, they'll be locked. Or at least they'll still be connected to you, you know? So like if you do something else, they'll do it again. Mm-hmm. Like that's what they want to do. They want to implement a punishment system. So if you're caught being naughty, well, you can't use your money this month.
That's pretty insane.
The shocking thing about this is it's Canada. Mm-hmm. That's just, you know, if Germany did this, I'd be like, oh, well, they're going back to their old ways again.
Well, I mean, this comes back to it almost is Germany because Trudeau is, you know, Klaus Schwab's little foot soldier. So.
Yeah. Well, it's also Christy Freeland. Like she actually does have. Yeah, her grandfather was part of the Nazi. I can't remember what rank. Like he was like a lower. I can't remember. I'm not sure if it was like Spy Network or something like that. I can't remember, but it was KGB kind of sounding stuff, you know, like, but like German. It's also like we've kind of known that. Like I've kind of known that this stuff was weird from the get-go because their methods were just so manipulative, and then it was clearly dishonest. Like even you guys could see that. Like Trudeau's been a laughingstock since forever because he's a hypocrite. He's always been a hypocrite.
Yes. Like
3 times blackface is such an easy meme because he is that. But
it's just I guess what I'm trying to say is that Canada is kind of known for being, at least in the States, Canada's kind of known for being polite and nice.
Yes.
And to see this, a clear demonstration of the Gestapo in such a you know, what the Americans would consider a tame area, it's just so black and white that it's like, oh my God.
It's always the quiet ones that you've got to keep an eye on.
Well, that's kind of how they got to us because a lot of how they got us to conform to this in the first place is through shaming. And if you know anything about Canadians, we really aren't really too keen on being nosy in your business unless it's something that could like harm you or like harm the neighborhood. I don't really give a shit about what you do. You know, it's none of my business. But at the same time, though, if you tell me it's something that I have to be concerned about, like it's, you know, like the neighborhood watch or something like that, or you're watching out for a missing child or something.
Wait, is Canada so poor there's one watch for the entire neighborhood?
That's no, but we'll share stuff across Canada. Like if you've got a missing child, you'll share it across Canada because that's kind of how it works.
Just like the timepiece is like you can only afford one watch and you've got to pass it from person to person.
That'd be funny. Oh, we'd be screwed. But no, it's just it really is easy to convince us to go a certain way if we think it's a morality thing, and that's actually been kind of a problem. It really has to do with our voting system too, because it's always like, oh, well, if you don't vote for us, you're this guy, or if you don't vote this way, you don't care about that asshole. And it's like, you know what? None of them do anything. So no, that doesn't mean anything. It's usually just you hope that your guy gets you 1 or 2 of the things that you asked for. That's usually how politics works.
If someone said to me, if you don't vote for me, you're an asshole, I'd be like, yes, I am. Who's the other guy?
Yeah, pretty much. That's how I am.
Well, that sounds familiar. That sounds familiar. If you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. Sound familiar?
Yeah. No, but it, like whatever the ist or phobe that they called me is like, if you don't vote for this person, you're a racist. Yes, I am.
Cool. I'm a racist.
So who's the competition?
How things would have been so much different if Maxime were in charge. Can you imagine?
He unfortunately burnt too many bridges with the old school conservatives.
Yeah.
And that's not I like him a lot. Like, I adore him. But with them, they really are, our Canadian elderly are really kind of fixated on the news. Like, telling them to look up stuff that's just outside of their box is really kind of difficult. Like, I'm not the first one to say that, like, my mom is a conservative, but like, she was falling around that the COVID shit like to the T. And I had to put my foot down with her on the booster. I was like, listen, I'm not getting the booster. I said, there's too many other things there that I'm not really too keen on, that I don't want to accelerate. The fact that they didn't mention that it causes complications in women who have like problems with their uterus absolutely bothers me, because I have those and they didn't tell me that. So I'm not getting the booster. Thank you very much.
My family tried to guilt me into getting it, on the grounds that if I'm not vaccinated, I probably won't be able to get on a plane to visit them, like at Christmas. And I was like, no, I understand it, and I don't want to miss out on Christmas with the family, but I don't want that enough to inject strange substances into my body.
Yeah, you and I are the only two people I really know, Terry, for sure, that have not had any shots.
Yeah, I'm completely unvaccinated.
Me too.
For COVID. Like, I've got my childhood vaccinations.
Oh, yeah.
No COVID ones.
Yeah, neither do I. I don't know if I mentioned this before, I actually bought a shirt online that says Pure Blood on it. I haven't worn it yet.
Nice.
But
yeah, just to clarify, I'm not. I'm more mad about the fact. Well, it's not
I'm
that.
kidding.
It's just the fact that they didn't mention it, because I would have kept track of that. Because mine's kind of weird. When you have problems with that, it's already kind of weird. So if somebody doesn't tell you that, you don't know to keep track of it. So my stuff has been weird since then. So now my brain's in paranoia mode, going like, was that a thing? It probably wasn't. I'm probably fine.
Yeah. Have you watched Dr. John Campbell's videos?
No, I should. I'm probably too late.
Let me ask you a question. You've had 2 shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the arm?
Yeah.
Same arm?
Yes.
Did you watch them do it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When they did it, put the needle in, did they aspirate the needle?
I don't know.
Aspirating the needle, the idea here is that this injection has to go into the muscle. It can't go into the bloodstream. That's why they stick you in the side of the arm, because they're going into the muscle in your arm. What's happening is people are getting the shot, and when they get the shot, the person puts the needle in, and they're putting the needle in far enough that they're going through the muscle into the artery.
Yeah.
And people are having problems from it. And that's what he mentioned. That's what he mentioned, that people are getting an immediate taste of aluminum in their mouth because it's going into the bloodstream instead of going into the muscle. Aspiration, what aspiration is, after you put the needle in, before you plunge it, you pull out to see if you pull any blood with you. That way you know if you're in an artery or not. You pull back on it and you pull blood into the syringe, you're in an artery. If you pull back and nothing happens, it resists, well, you're in the muscle. And some areas are aspirating and some areas are not. People who are not getting aspirating shots are complaining that it's getting into their bloodstream immediately, because they're all saying, I get this taste of aluminum, I get dizzy, blah, 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 blah. So I
think you're outvoted 2-1. It's aluminium. I don't know how Canada
That's fine.
pronounces it.
Aluminum.
2-1. I win.
Aluminum.
I'm fine with saying aluminium. The point being, I'm fine with you saying aluminium. But that would be my concern. I'm sure you're perfectly fine, because if you didn't get that taste in your mouth, I have a feeling that went into the muscle just like it should have. But knowing this now, if I were to decide to go to get the shot, which would be stupid at this point, I'll just get Omicron and be done with it. But if I were to go get the shot, I would have to say to the person, look, you're going to put that in my arm, you're going to do it my way, or there's going to be a lawsuit. You're going to plunge it in.
That's fair.
You're going to aspirate, and then you're going to put it in if the aspiration shows that you're in the muscle.
Yeah, no, I would hope that
I didn't know
that would be considered an acceptable condition of them doing it.
But I didn't know that. How many people know this? Nobody knows this.
No, next to no one.
I mean, if you're a doctor, maybe, but he's made it a point to talk about this, and there's plenty of doctors who are saying, well, we don't care. If the doctors don't care, and not enough to tell you about it, and people don't generally know, how many people are... It's a concern. It's a concern.
Yeah, I don't trust doctors.
And that's why I bring it up, because, like, especially when I think that it's Bill Gates involved. Like, I'm sorry, but that guy said some really heinous stuff like that. Yeah. That he'd happily like to, like, make it convenient for people to not be able to have children as easily. Like, I'm almost in my 40s, but, like, it's still my body, my choice, at the end of the day.
Well, the thing with me is, it's not even that he said anything heinous. He said that he thinks overpopulation is, like, the biggest threat to humanity. So he's maybe not the guy I trust to save lives.
But that's been a long time thing with overpopulation. I remember watching a video that some prominent... I remember it was a scientist or who it was, but some prominent voice said that by the year 2020, there would be massive famines and millions of people would be dying because we couldn't feed everybody. But what they didn't realize is that...
Did they predict Canada going communist? Is that what that was?
What I was going to say is they didn't predict the fact that our ability to manipulate agriculture would also advance along with the population rate. They thought that our agriculture was stuck at a certain point and that overpopulation would kill us.
There's a video by FEE, I think it's the Foundation for Economic Education. And the guy on there is basically saying, look, overpopulation isn't a concern because more people is not just more mouths to feed, it's more hands to work. So like you can increase production to facilitate the needs of the additional people.
There's plenty of land out there to farm. We're not constricted on land. There's plenty out there, and agricultural methods would make stuff that isn't really farmable now farmable in the future. Yeah, it's a big planet. Yes, it is. Exactly. Musk is actually concerned about the replacement rate. He's talking about how we're not having enough babies.
I think that's a more pressing concern than overpopulation is.
Yeah.
Because a lot of Western countries are very close to or even dropping under replacement. So, like, the average household is having less than 2 children.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, sorry, my brother's upset.
That is a problem.
I'm going to have less than 2 children. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not going to have any.
I'm going to have less than 1.
Jen's going to save us, though. Jen's going to have 20. Right, Jen?
No, I'm almost in my 40s. So it's not like I was planning on having a bunch of kids. But at the end of the day, we also, like, pump that shit into a shit ton of our young women. And so, yeah, like I said, they didn't really mention that kind of shit. And they really should have, because at least some women would have kept track. So they'd have, like, something to look at, at least more accurate numbers. I'm just saying, I don't like starting a study halfway through it,
Assassin got the doctor's name that I remember reading about, Paul Ehrlich. That's what it was
Okay.
from. It was a video on YouTube about him that talked about that. So Assassin got the information I was talking about.
I just like that the aluminum versus aluminium thing is being waged in chat.
That's fine. That's fine.
I just find it funny. It's the same with the ZZ wars.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna bring it back to the topic just for a little bit, because
Sure.
I'm still just absolutely blown by how bad our Senate actually looks. Like, so I watched Viva Fry's stream of it because
How bad
he was
the Senate looks?
Yeah,
The Senate
like
didn't get a chance to do anything yet.
You don't understand how our Senate is set up. So half
No, I
of the
don't.
Senate is already in favor of Trudeau.
Ugh.
Like already they're, so like if you're thinking like 200 seats, 100 of those are already in his favor, or at least like they would side with him because they're liberals. But he clearly didn't get all of them. But then there's also NDP, then there's the Conservatives. It's just every single time one of them would start talking, it was absolutely clear that they were lying, that they didn't know what was going on. They were like talking shit out their ass. And it was just absolutely stunning. This thing where we've been sharing stuff around, like Viva never stopped having 35,000 people watching him stream that shit.
35,000?
Mm-hmm.
Not 3,500. 35,000?
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap! I've never seen anybody have that many people. Even PewDiePie.
Yeah. No, it's like he had 35. It was about that at one point. For a steady 8-hour stream, he had that, and it was consistent for the entire time he was there.
Wow.
I say it didn't drop past maybe 1,000. Sometimes it would go up a little bit from that. Like he was in the Nick Gricada levels for the Kyle Rittenhouse, which for us is a big amount. For Canada, that's a huge amount. But it wasn't just him. Like there was a couple of other streamers, like Zod is an example. And Zod got arrested twice. Like he kept having to shift the post to his girlfriend, who got hassled a lot by the cops as well. He's native though, so they have a tendency to target them. RCMP do target them. They do. But he kept to it. Like he was going up and down, up and down. He went down to I think he went down to Windsor at one point and then came back up. But he was consistent with talking to the truckers, getting to know people. Another one was Zoke. There was a couple of people who were doing some pretty good streams. So everybody had a chance to watch what was going on. And that's what we were doing on Twitter. Like we were sharing everything, spamming everything, just trying to get anyone we could to share it, just so that as many eyes were on this as possible. Because that way we could get people to clip shit as fast as we possibly could, because we knew from the get-go that they were going to lie about everything. And they did. Like every single person that stood up that you knew was gonna say no made this big lying spiel about it, and it was absolutely dirty. And the worst one of the bunch is the meme. The worst one of the bunch is the one I'm gonna use as the example, because she should be a meme. Like honk honk is an acronym for Heil Hitler.
Yeah.
You stupid bitch. And just so you know, Ron Coleman is on our side, and that made my day. I was like, damn right he is.
Well, you're in trouble if China is saying you're acting too much like authoritarians. China is saying that. Like, oh my God. Even China thinks you went too far. Dude.
Well, didn't Trudeau say that he had like a respect for China's dictatorship?
Yes, he did.
That's pretty bad to have captured on film.
It's not the first time. It's several times that he's done it. And it's also the fact that like throughout his youth, his childhood, he really was kind of around dictators a lot. Like his mom and dad.
Castro?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Like I know the joke is that his dad might be Fidel, but if you actually look up Pierre a little bit more and you realize what he was actually about, they were like best buddies. Like they really agreed on a lot of stuff. Like he admired him a lot. Same with a lot of other dictators. Like his dad kind of amped him up like that. So I'm actually not as surprised as I was. I'm surprised at how well the Liberal Party hid that.
But, apparently, we've got a Nazi in chat. Wandering Lisa saying the dreaded double H in chat there.
So he would never have gotten this past the Senate, or he could have gotten it past the Senate, or was likely to get it past the Senate. What was the?
He was not going to get it past the Senate,
even with all that support.
So the thing is just because he has that many seats doesn't mean that he had all the seats, because he had people walk. He had people on his own side look at this and go, oh, okay, this is, I don't know what the hell this is, but I want no part in it. So one of the other things that we've discovered that really kind of freaked us out, if you know anything about Christy Freeland, you know that she's part of the World Organization, the WEF.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, get that one because it's a weird one.
What does that stand for? WEF?
I'm just
World Economic Forum.
Yeah, thank you.
Economic Forum. Okay.
Yeah. So
and what do they do?
Well, that's the thing. They penetrate governments.
Oh.
they penetrate governments and convince them to basically become communist, I guess.
Oh, really?
Klaus Schwab is like the leader of it, and he's basically admitted that he wants to control the narrative so that he can put his Great Reset into play, because he doesn't like capitalism, so he wants to like do a global reset and do things his way.
That was the creepy thing. The amount of people that we were discovering to be in connections to it were the exact ones making the same script. Like it was the same script over and over and over and over again. And so like they're wondering why we're getting amped up. And it's because if you don't want a conspiracy to be like proven to not be a conspiracy, you're doing it right in front of us as if we can't see it. The difference is that now that we are brave enough to call it out, that's why they're backtailing. Because we're no longer afraid of calling it out. And I actually don't think he has the funds to back it up. Like, in all honesty, his friendship with the world scale is not as good as he thinks, because he doesn't have the money to back it up.
It's, yeah, when the video of Klaus saying that he penetrated governments went out, I said, well, take a look at Trudeau. Couldn't you already tell he'd been penetrated?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah. I can see him swinging both ways.
I'm enjoying you using that word.
Swinging both ways.
I think he likes the word penetrate.
I do. Well, so it comes down to good news, I guess, in the end, because he's withdrawing it. And I guess the truckers are going to get their trucks back, and people are eventually going to get their money back, or at least access to their money. So kind of no harm, no foul.
I don't think it's good news. I think this is what Jordan Peterson was talking about, where he says, I'm going to push until you resist, and then I'm going to stop. You're going to calm down, and then I'm going to push again. And each time I'm going to get a little bit further. So I think this is okay, they're pushing back. Let's stop, and then when things calm down, we make another push. I don't think this is over by a long shot. This is just like, okay, we're moving too far. Let's just let things settle down, and then we can continue.
You think he's going to go after the Emergencies Act again?
It might not be that manner of pursuing things, but like, once things settle down, yeah.
I think they're going to continue to use the links that they have to continue to spy on people. I suspect that they're in for a shock, because everything that they've done has really convinced a lot of the big Canadians, the people with actual money, are going to start taking their money out of the banks, because they kind of did in a rush. and they still are. Like everyone's kind of changing their stuff over to crypto. And like they have no control over what crypto they use because look, there's so many different kinds of crypto. Good luck with that, buddy. We're more than willing to put our money on hold until we destroy him, because he's made it clear that he's an enemy of the people. And if he doesn't understand how a country works, if you become declared as an enemy of the people and the people view that way, we aren't too different from you guys in that regard. If you're a stinker, you're a stinker. I don't care if you're a liberal, but if you start calling me a fucking Nazi, we're gonna have some words, sir. Like that for real really got to a lot of us. I 2015 when he started that shit. Most of us out here, just like the rest of Canada, we have family who died fighting Nazis. So the rolling over in my grave of my grandfather, like, no, thank you, sir. Like, that ranked me wrong for like the longest time. So now that I can turn and look at him and be like, well, look at you, Mr. Blackface dictator. Well, sorry, I had like the 10 stages of like doom, like 2 days in a row. I don't know if you guys ever saw this clip or if it was the meme, but the giraffe that steps into the quicksand and he's slowly going through the stages of denial and then grief and then anger and then acceptance, and then he hits the bottom and his head's still out of the sand and he's just like, shit.
So, why don't we change gears here?
Yep.
And I don't know how much we're going to have to discuss about these other two topics, but they were news for me, things that I wanted to talk a little bit about. I guess we can start with Zhu Yi, who used to be Beverly Yi, an American ice skater, I guess, who decided that she was going to represent China in the Olympics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, born and bred here, trained here, and then when the Olympics came around, I'm going to represent China. And I'm going to change my first name from Beverly to Zhu, Z-H-U, which I guess is a traditional first name in China. And I guess she's moved there.
Can you represent a country that you're not from in the Olympics? I mean, I suppose you can.
You can. Yeah. It's actually done on a regular basis, but from what I gather, she's going all the way. She's moving to China, becoming a citizen of China. She can't even speak Chinese.
Yeah.
But she's moving there, and she's going to be China from now on. She's not coming back.
It's just a weird idea to me. Like, it feels like if I decided, you know what, I'm an Olympic athlete from Australia, I'm going to represent Zimbabwe. Like, why?
Well, she is Chinese, so, or at least she has some enough Chinese blood to say that she's Chinese. So it's not like she's just decided to pick one. She actually is Chinese. I don't know if it's her father or mother or both or whatever.
But it'd be just as weird for me to represent Greece or Egypt, because my grandparents were born in Egypt, but they were Greek.
Yeah.
I wouldn't represent either country if I was an athlete. Maybe I should. Maybe the cops are saying, no, you will represent Greece. And
they're coming to take you away, buddy.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm Irish by birth, Irish Polish, but I would never think of representing Ireland in the Olympics.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm American. But apparently she's one of the people who went through our college system, which turned her against America. So it made the decision for her.
That's what its job is. That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
Oh, she's going to come in for a surprise because they lied. They lied.
Well, not only that.
Spud says both her parents are Chinese. So, okay, that makes more sense.
But on top of that, because she she failed in her events. 2 of them already. She's failed, and the event for the overall, she brought the Chinese team down. They were in 3rd place. She brought the team down to 5th place out of medal contention, and she fell in her individual, so she won't get a medal there either. And she's facing a lot of backlash in China for being an embarrassment, and also not being a true Chinese because she doesn't speak the language.
Well, plus she wasn't born or raised there, so I mean, she's automatically not a real Chinese by their standards.
Yeah, they're a lot more intolerant, I guess you would say, of
which I don't think is a bad thing.
Well, they think that she's an American. They don't think of her as a
she
Chinese,
is.
even though her parents are Chinese, obviously, but she was born here and raised here. She's an American, so they don't like her.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see where people are coming from. In like, Australia will claim AC/DC, even though the people who formed AC/DC were all Scottish. They were all born in Scotland, but they were raised in Australia. So like, they're treated as an Australian band. Like, no one really thinks of AC/DC as a Scottish band, even though you could make the argument that they are.
Well, who's the lead singer? The one who or I don't even know if he's the lead singer. The one who dresses up like a schoolboy.
I don't know
the names of
who's
the members
currently, because I haven't followed them.
That guy passed. Yeah, that was the first singer. There's 2. He passed away.
The first singer was Bon Scott, and then the second one was Brian Johnson, and I think Brian Johnson might have been English. I don't think he was Scottish.
There was a guy that used to wear like gray shorts.
That's Angus Young.
He
was Scottish.
Okay. All right. When I listen to him sing, like Back in Black or whatever,
Angus was on guitar. He wasn't the singer.
Oh, okay, but he did sing some songs, right?
I don't think so. I think it was always Bon Scott until he died, and then Brian Johnson replaced him.
Whenever I listen to that band play, whoever's singing whatever, it sounded Australian to me.
Well, they were raised they moved to Australia at young ages, so 4 or 5 years old, and then grew up here. So that's where the accent comes from. But gotcha. They were actually born in Scotland.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, I mean, I've listened to their music. They're not like my band, but I love the music that they produce. But I was never really into them. I was much more of a Foreigner, the band Foreigner, and Joan.
I got what you meant.
Yeah, Pat Benatar, Joan Jett, that kind of stuff. I really wasn't into AC/DC. They were a little too hard for me at the time. But it's classic rock, and I still love them. But yes, I don't know who all the members are, who sang, who played guitar. I don't know.
I think most of the songs that you would know would have been sung by Brian Johnson, because the first album of theirs that really took off, sold like crazy, was Back in Black.
There you go.
Which is the first one that Brian Johnson sang on.
Okay.
So everything after that, you probably heard Brian Johnson far more than Bon Scott.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's the first song that comes to my mind when I think of the band's Back in Black. So, but yeah, I mean,
all their biggest hits come from Back in Black.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of big bands out there, big classic bands like the Stones and the Beatles and U2. I mean, they're not in the same class, but you get the point that they're very popular and very well known, that kind of stuff. And I really don't know much about the composition of the bands. I'm much more of a movie guy than I'm a music guy, but that is the time period of the music that I like.
And Adam in chat is confirming Angus Young and Malcolm Young basically formed the band, and Bon Scott was the first singer.
Frosted says AC/DC was my first concert. My first concert was David Bowie. Who was your first concert?
Technically Midnight Swim.
I don't even know who that is.
No one does, because it was my friends from school who were at the local pub performing.
Oh, okay.
It was my first and only live music performance, so I guess that has to count.
Yeah. Jem, who was your first?
I was dragged to one with my mom for my first one. So I don't really want to confess to it, but it was very Canadian because it was a Rock Rosine concert. He's not bad. He's just kind of like a middle-aged lady kind of singer.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, something like a Celine Dion, but a dude. He's not bad, but yeah, I wouldn't have picked him to go with friends too.
Is it Bryan Adams? Isn't he Canadian?
Yep. He is. Yep.
He's very Canadian.
I have also seen Celine Dion, by the way, just because she's worth it to go in concert.
To. She's Canadian.
You have to. I don't. It's not like I listen to all her songs or anything like that, but she is Canadian and she's good, and she is actually good in a concert. Like she does, she is what she is. But she's not for everybody. Like I feel absolutely terrible for my dad. So my mom was absolutely the type to get one of those, CD players that you could put more than one CD in. So I think she got one that was up to at least 8. All of them Celine Dion, and if it wasn't all Celine Dion, it would be all rock cuisine. If it wasn't all rock cuisine, it would be all like Barbra Streisand or something along those lines. So
Scotty Cat is throwing the Rolling Stones under the bus.
I saw that. I don't know how I feel about that. The Stones were influential, and they had some great music.
Definitely.
But they I don't think. I mean, they were a top band of the time, and they're still around. So it's not like they don't have longevity, but I could see if you put them against some other bands where it would be like, well, I mean, the Beatles would probably be, for that kind of music in that time period, were kind of the kings. Really.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So, I mean, the Stones were always going to be second fiddle to them, so.
I mean, in terms of music, I definitely prefer the Stones to the Beatles.
I like them both the same.
I mean, the Beatles had good songs, but the Rolling Stones were far more to my taste.
I just think that the Stones were more willing to stay with the times. I mean, the Stones ran into disco, so they did "Miss You," which was a disco song. I would never see the Beatles do something like that. They got into their psychedelic funk and they just kind of stayed there. They never left. So, I mean, everybody has their own personal opinions about them. I mean, Keywordam's big with 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah, I saw that.
I love that. I love Closer. That was a great song.
Well, I got a free chance to watch Mariah Carey because Stampede, if you don't know anything about my town, we have this thing called a Stampede in which they bring in popular singers. So they had Mariah Carey. So I got a chance to watch Mariah Carey. And then it rained on her. It was fantastic. But she
No, I just remembered, I don't know if it counts, but I did see Garbage, quote unquote, live because they live streamed one of their concerts and I watched the live stream. So I was watching it live. I just wasn't there like in person. So that might be my first concert if you count that.
Yeah. I haven't gone to a concert in years. It's not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'm too old for that stuff. Let's move on. I want to talk about United States Postal Service before it gets too late. Not a big story here, but it's nice to see. It's not nice to see. I shouldn't say it's nice to see. It's fun to see when two government agencies don't cooperate with each other, because the president is like, we want you to be on board with this, and the Department of Transportation, and we want you to be on board with this, and USPS is just giving them the middle finger, man. They're like, nope, sorry, that doesn't meet our needs. We're doing this. What's happening is the USPS is upgrading their fleet, and what they've done is they've ordered 90% of their fleet to be gas vehicles. Only 10% are electric. So, and the government wants them to be 100% electric. And the USPS is part of the government, but it's not ruled by the government. It's kind of a weird thing there. They are their own entity. They are funded by themselves. They're not funded by our government, but they're kind of run by our government, but not funded by them. So how they spend their money and who they spend it with is up to them. So they can tell the government, don't care. We got our own money. We'll buy what we want to buy, and you don't have any say. And they're right. They don't have any say. So the USPS has decided that gas vehicles work better for them. They want high efficiency gas vehicles because their carriers drive long distances and can't be put in a situation where they run out of gas.
Mm-hmm.
Or run out of electricity, I guess you would say in this case. So that's just the way it's going to be. And they have autonomy. So this is what's going to happen. There's no, they can't be sued. They can't be pressured. They can't do anything. They have autonomy in the situation. So I thought it was, I saw it and I was kind of like, yeah, man, you go get them. You do your thing. I was very happy to see it.
Yeah, I think the blue collar workers are gonna find themselves feeling a little bit braver, because if Canada can do it, then there's no way in hell you guys aren't gonna like be like, no, just wait, Canada, we'll show you how it's done.
I don't know what you guys use. Do you guys use electric or gas for your mail delivery?
I would be very surprised if there's any electrical vehicles being used down here.
Yeah. But you guys are all kind of on the coast. You guys don't really have to drive very long distances, do you?
I mean, going interstate, sure. I mean, there are long distances involved. Like from Sydney to Melbourne is about 90 minutes on a plane. So imagine driving it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Australia's a big place.
It is a very big place.
We're, some of the biggest continents are represented here. Canada, United States, and Australia are all pretty big.
But so I was amazed the first time I went overseas. It took 4 hours on a plane just to leave the Australian landmass, to actually reach the ocean, because that's how big the country is. Just flying from Sydney to, I forget which Asian country we were stopping over at, but it took 4 hours on the plane, and we just left the northern border of Australia.
Well, I mean, I can understand it, because the United States, the USPS is we're taking care of the whole country, and we have people, we're spread out through the entire United States. There's people living dead center of the country,
Yeah,
So,
you weren't smart. You didn't put a giant desert in the middle of your country.
yeah. Well, we had the choice. We thought, which way do we want to go?
But you have Arizona.
Yeah, but Phoenix is a huge city.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, they actually have their own water supply. There's more than could be said for California.
Yeah.
But I mean, except for the severe north of Canada, you guys are pretty spread out too. You have people all the way across, right?
All across. Yep. Yeah. And up north. We do. Not as much up north, obviously, but we do.
But I mean, electrical vehicles wouldn't be a good solution for Canada anyway, just because of the cold. Batteries hate cold.
They really, really do. And we kind of have similar problems to you. It would be fine if it was just between cities or small towns or something. Like if it was between a city and a small town, I could see them getting away with it, but not in the winter. And honestly, it just wouldn't be worth it, because remote can be I went from Calgary to Edmonton, which is a 2.5 hour drive, to, I'm going to go all the way up north and then take a circle back. And, you're going to be there for weeks driving up in the north, So yeah, that's not going to work. And also you're going to have gas to heat your vehicle. I mean, we had an issue with that because they kept trying to take the gas to heat the vehicles and freeze them out.
Yeah.
We're hardy people up here. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've mentioned before, I've been to Canada a few times, and it was never a pleasant experience. But it wasn't because it was cold. I just happened to go up there at the time of the year where it was rainy, and it was on the edge of being snowy. It was that for Fahrenheit, it was 36, 32 degrees, right in the area where things start to freeze. I guess for you guys, it'd be 2 or 3 degrees above.
Mm-hmm.
So it was miserable, but it wasn't like I was walking through 4 feet of snow.
Yeah.
And I was at the lowest possible point. I was at the bottom of Toronto, so I mean, I was as close to the States as I could possibly get. So it's not like I was up in the north somewhere. So,
to be honest, though, you're also not too far off from like Ontario. In that area kind of shares temperatures with like places like New York, especially Toronto, because they're kind of shaped an awful lot like New York.
mm-hmm.
So wind tunnels and frost, and then they have humidity, so it's dry, like it's a wet cold too. They're not too bad. They hit spring faster than we do, but yeah, I can imagine that not being pleasant if you're used to warmer stuff.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Just quickly, people in chat are saying there was a bit of a stream hiccup, and now if I go to the duration, it's like a minute 10 is the length of the stream.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if anything weird's going on there.
Yeah, I know. I've been kind of keeping an eye on it. I'm watching the actual stream, and it looks like it's smooth from YouTube's end. Not buffering anything funny, but it keeps dropping connection. And I'm looking at my ping, and my ping is great. So it's not me.
I just refreshed, and now it's back to like just the Minions of the Zoo logo, as if it had not started.
Really?
It's it's a bit weird. But if I click on play, now it seems it's back to being a minute 40. So yeah, it's weird.
They're watching me, boys. They're watching me, boys.
I'll do a refresh on YouTube to see if it makes an impact.
Yeah, that's right. You guys have a fringe minority in your
Yeah, see, I'm looking at the YouTube what's actually being broadcast, and the chat that I put out as the Minions is showing up. So I mean, it's like it's keeping up with me. I'll do some more diagnostics, but I haven't, except for the difference in the version of OBS, I haven't made any changes to this setup at all. I mean, I'm looking at the bottom right corner of OBS, and there's a little small section on the bottom right of OBS that gives you a visual indicator of how good the stream is. And it goes from green to yellow to orange to like a deep orange to a red. It just keeps changing that way. And I'm looking at it, and it's going between yellow and green, which is pretty much normal. If it got into the orange and red kind of deal, then maybe there'd be an issue. But I'm broadcasting at 60 frames. Of those 60 frames, I'm only losing 10%. So OBS is telling me that by talking directly to YouTube and asking YouTube what's going on. And OBS replies back to me to tell me what's going on. And 10% really isn't a big deal. I mean, maybe it might cause you to hit the refresh button, but I'm still seeing chats popping up on YouTube. So I don't know what's...
Yeah, the worst that's happened to me is there's like a flash where the screen goes black, but like only for like half a second, if that, and then it comes back.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like when it was doing that, it was resetting the stream, because now it's like only been going for a few minutes according to the scroll bar at the bottom.
So there's nothing I can do that could cause that. So if this is doing this, it's got to be YouTube that's having the problem.
It probably is. I mean, I can believe that.
Everything else I'm looking at says everything is great.
Unless it's some weird quirk of the new version of OBS that's acting up.
Yeah, I mean, but it would have to actually be intentionally lying to me now for it to be broken, because I'm watching the bottom right corner and it says that it's talking to YouTube just fine. So let me just do something really that I probably shouldn't do. Let me just run a bandwidth test on my machine and see what happens. Speed test. I am getting 926 megabytes downstream. I think that's plenty.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's considerably more than I can get.
It doesn't appear to be a problem downstream. Let me check the upstream. I guess that's a possibility. And I'm getting 31 megabits upstream. So I don't even know if I could display my screen to show everybody what I'm getting. Does it have my IP address here? Am I going to dox myself if I do this? Oh, it has my location. Nope. Won't be sharing this with anybody. Let me just go ahead and close that. Yeah, I mean, as far as my computer is concerned, my internet connection to the real world, OBS appears to be, I'm looking at how much CPU OBS is using. It's using almost nothing. My CPU usage right now, broadcasting, talking to you guys, running 2 screens, the whole shebang all at once. Right now, I'm using 4% of my CPU. 4. So it's doesn't look like it's OBS. It's certainly not StreamYards. You guys can hear me just fine. We're real time. There's no issues there.
Yep.
I got plenty of bandwidth. My machine says it's bored. It's got nothing to do. It's got it.
Yeah.
There's nothing left. It has to be YouTube. So
I think it must be. Assassin is saying audio video is good now. So
yeah, and I have done absolutely nothing except check. I've made no changes. Didn't do anything different. I'm just sitting here running.
Maybe it's like quantum physics. Observing just changes the nature.
Observing changes the thing. Well, I don't know. I guess I could, maybe next week I'll drop the frame rate down from 60 frames to 30 frames, because really 60 frames was just me measuring my dick more than anything else. You don't really need to be running the stream at 60 frames, but what chip do I have, Hammer? I have an AMD 5900X.
I was hoping you'd just say potato.
I have a potato chip. I have a poker chip. I do not have a potato. I have a decent CPU.
No, but it would be a funny answer to what chip.
It would be a funny answer, but yeah, 24 cores of power behind this. I don't have any issues running or doing anything. So it'd be a real stretch that it'd be my computer itself. I could understand if it was OBS, and maybe I'm blaming OBS last week for something that was YouTube's fault. But there was some controversy. It was locking up people's machines, so there's the possibility. But would this be throttling? Throttling is probably the only thing I could. Considering I'm doing 60 frames, and most people don't do 60 frames to YouTube, it's possible, but it's not my carrier. It's not Comcast doing the throttling. It would have to be YouTube doing it. I can't imagine that they would throttle 60
maybe
frames.
They haven't forgiven us. Maybe they haven't forgiven us for the medical misinformation yet.
Probably not. I wouldn't think that they would throttle somebody doing 60 frames, because a lot of gamers do 60 frames. It's very popular on the platform. Not 4K 60 frames, but a lot of people do 60 frames. I don't know if they would throttle the frame count. That's why my PC is bored. Yeah. I mean, I could literally sit here and play a game, a 4K game on my main monitor, and my PC would still not be stretching itself. Running a stream on this computer is nothing.
My computer, it's viewing the stream at 720p, but I can actually set it up to 4K if I want. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason to grab that much. We're not doing anything. We just have chat and some icons. It's not a big deal. I said, I could run this stream at 720p 30 frames. I could certainly do that. But I just wanted to see if it could be done. And I wanted the stream to stick out a little bit. But they're doing something a little different over there. Crazy Hammer doing 4K 60 frames. What the hell's wrong with that guy? It's like I said.
I think you realize that it's unnecessary for the type of stream you do.
It is absolutely unnecessary. You're absolutely right. It is. I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah, of course. I wouldn't want you to stop.
I mean, it's a pissy fight, really, is what it is. Someone will say something, and I'll say, yeah, but can you do 4K 60 frames? And it's a joke. It really is a joke. I don't need to be doing it, but if it continues to be a problem, I'll drop it down next week to 30 frames, and we'll see what happens. It's a very simple change. Matter of fact, I'll probably even do it on the fly.
I would love if everyone complains about the visual quality dropping.
Well, the visual quality wouldn't drop. It would just be the frames I'm sending. So It would still be a
Yeah, like-
4K stream, but it would be at 30
No, but they're
frames.
like the chat scrolling is way less smooth now.
Exactly.
What did you fuck up?
It would be the chat bubbles. That's what would happen. The colored chat bubbles wouldn't bounce as smoothly. That's what the difference would be. Oh, Lord. All right, we're being silly. It's 10 after 10. We should probably get out of here.
Alrighty.
What do you think?
Alrighty.
You want to get out of here? I want to get out of here.
Yeah.
These people don't care about my computer. They just think I'm pulling people's legs. So, whatever. We'll get out of here.
Hong Kong!
We've got another Nazi.
I want to try to thank chat for hanging out with us tonight and dealing with YouTube's issues. We'll see what we can do next week to try to get it resolved. In the meantime, if you're looking for more of the zoo, our Discord is linked in the description down below, and we're live every evening with most shows starting at 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. Quizzes Monday, Skep's Tuesday. The Wednesday show, of course, starts at 9 o'clock. Johnny is on tomorrow. Sanguine's Friday. Harry Channel starts off the weekend Saturday, and Delahazed, as far as I know, is still hosting Sundays. We will be back next Wednesday at 9 p.m. as usual. I hope you enjoyed the show, as it is, and we'll see you again next week. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye,
Bye, guys.
guys.